Does that look too overlined to you guys? I overlined it a lot, like a lot.
Wow. Mary Magdalene is an OnlyFans and Instagram model that has a pretty shocking plastic surgery story. Over the past 10 years, she's gone from looking like this to looking like this. Yes, this is the same person. She spent over $150,000 to turn herself into how she looks right now, and it has been a wild ride with a lot of ups and downs. Over the years, she's undergone a surgical brow lift, she's had fat transfers, she's undergone multiple nose jobs or rhinoplasties, she's undergone several breast augmentations, taking her from a 32B to a 38J. Yes, I've heard that they've measured her as a J cup, but that's not all. She's also had veneers, she's had liposuction, cheek and lip fillers, and she's undergone cat eye surgery to cause her eyes to look more slanted like the eyes of a cat. And we're still not done. She's also undergone butt injections with filler, and she's undergone three Brazilian butt lifts. This is an operation where you liposuction fat from one part of the body and then you inject it into the butt to make the butt look bigger. So this is a lot of work that costs a ton of money. According to my calculations, she spent over $275,000 to turn her body into how she is now. And it has been a wild ride with a lot of ups and downs. So why did she go under the knife so many times? Well, Mary mentions in interviews that she grew up in an extremely strict religious family, where she wasn't even able to watch children's television shows like Disney shows when she was young. And by the age of 12, she not surprisingly began to rebel. At the age of 17, Mary started working as an adult dancer and an escort. And when she reached 21, this is when she apparently started her plastic surgery journey to transform herself into a real-life blow-up doll. Now in 2018, she went viral on the internet because she underwent several operations to her private parts to give her what she calls, and I quote, the world's fattest vagina. And these operations almost killed her. She said, I almost died during the procedure. I had to get 2 blood transfusions. The doctor said I was losing so much blood and turning very pale. He thought I was going to die. Well, I felt nauseous for a whole week. I thought I was dying and had a bad allergic reaction to my new blood I received from the transfusion. Well, it's a lot better than it was, but I have complications with the fat, so I will need to keep getting vagina injections to even it out. So how does somebody almost bleed to death during fat grafting for a labiaplasty? Well, I honestly have no idea. Technically, this should be a fairly simple operation where you liposuction small amounts of fat from one part of the body and inject it into the region of her private area. Even though this is a real operation with real surgery, it should have fairly limited bleeding and she shouldn't be at risk of dying or bleeding to death. So unless Mary has some type of clotting disorder, this does sound very unusual to me. Well, almost dying from fat grafting labiaplasty surgery wasn't enough to stop her from having plastic surgery. She continued getting more and more work done, as I mentioned earlier on this video, and then in June of 2022, she made huge news due to her massive breasts. Mary was unceremoniously kicked off a flight going from Canada to Dallas because, as she claims, it was because of her 22-pound breasts and for dressing too exotic. Well, according to the airline, this wasn't the reason why she was kicked off of the flight. Many passengers stated that it was because Mary was acting intoxicated and because she was switching her seats several times before the flight even took off. Well, here's what Mary shared in an online post after this whole incident, and she explains in her opinion what happened. And if you want, go ahead and pause the video because this is a lot to read. And not long after this, she shared a post in early 2023 with something that you just have to honestly see to believe.
You guys, so this is my boob now. So I haven't been very active on this account because I've been on my other account, so I will post that below in my caption. But yeah, basically my breast implant popped again and I am having surgery to take them out next week. I am gonna go back natural, not just my boob, but other parts of my body. Or should I just keep it like this?
Oh no, please don't keep it like that. So her breasts were a 38J, and as you can see, one of them basically burst, leaving her with a massive uniboob. So how does a breast pop like this? Well, the largest breast implants made in the United States are about 800 cc's. And I mentioned earlier that Mary Magdalene said that her breasts weighed about 22 pounds. Well, 22 pounds is approximately, this is an approximate, 10,000 cc's total, so you'd have to estimate that each breast implant is about 5,000 cc's. This is 5 liters, which is basically 2.5 2-liter bottles of soda pop. Now, because the largest implant made in the United States is 800 cc's, how do you get to 5,000? Well, you could place, let's say, 6 breast implants into each breast, or you can take a implant tissue expander, which is a saline-filled empty implant, and you can overfill it to 5,000 cc's. That's essentially taking a balloon that's made to be a certain size and filling it to 4, 5, 6 times its normal size. Now, not surprisingly, when you stretch something that much, at some point you're gonna stretch it out so much that it gets thinner and thinner, and it's very prone to popping. And that appears to be what has happened to Mary Magdalene's breasts. Well, the good news is that breaking a saline implant in your body isn't a dangerous thing. It's more of a cosmetic issue than it is a medical issue. That salt water, as long as it's sterile, is going to be absorbed by the body, and it's not going to create an infection or anything like that that could truly be health threatening. But having one massive uniboob definitely cosmetically is a big issue. So where is Mary now? What is going on in her life, and how does she look? Well, after this occurred, as she said in that video, she decided that she wanted to go more natural with her body. So let's take a peek at how some of that went.
I always hear that, like, people want to diagnose me online. Simply, I just like that plastic look. And now I don't hate the look. It's just I'm going for something different. I don't think it's a mental illness. I think it's a hobby. It's like an extreme sport. So I just view it as that, as like a very extreme hobby that made me happy at some point, but now it's not making me happy. So that's why I'm just changing my life.
So she said in an Instagram post that was very emotional that she has been trapped in a never-ending cycle of plastic surgery, and that this cycle had serious consequences to her health. So she began the process of starting to reverse many of these procedures that she had done. It's not a fun little adventure anymore. It's just draining in every possible way, she said. My time gets drained, my bank account, my energy, my health, and in the long run, you just kind of end up digging yourself into a really expensive, time-consuming hole. So as you can see, she's since had her breast implants removed, and she states that going from that 38J down to a more natural size has caused her to lose upwards of 22 pounds, and this has helped make her feel much better. I mean, can you imagine all of a sudden getting 22 pounds of weight added to your chest that you have to carry around every day? Or on the flip side, having it removed and how great and light you would feel? So after all that's happened to Mary, I really hope that she finds happiness and it's not at the end of a plastic surgeon's knife. But it is her body, and she can choose to do whatever she wants with it. I'm not here to judge her. But that being said, we'll keep following her and her fascinating story. Well, if you think Mary is extreme, you gotta check out the story of Juju Dopix. This beautiful model had industrial strength silicone injected into her face. Then she started a GoFundMe account to fix all this damage and ended up using that money to buy a scooter. Yeah, her story is fascinating, and you gotta check it out right up here. And as always, remember to eat real food, use clean skincare, and auto-juvenate before you operate.